Hi, in this video, we will understand what is dependency injection. So consider you are working on a game where you have a character. Okay. Now this particular character has the special skill. So it has different type of skills. Let's say to use that skill, you define a method public void use skill. Okay. By calling this method, this character will be able to use the skill. Okay, now let's say we will define one skill. Let's say one of the skill is invisibility. Okay, now for this skill to use, we have a method public void use. So by calling this method, you'll be able to use the skill. Okay, using invisibility. Now this character need to use a skill. One of those skill is invisibility. So this character has a dependency on invisibility because it need one of the skill to use. So now this is the dependency. Now character depending on invisibility. So how you will use invisibility? You basically will going to create a object of invisibility and you will call the use method of invisibility. Now this way every time you will call use skill, it will be using invisibility skill. Now let's say tomorrow you have one more skill. The user can fly. Okay, you have a skill to fly and will be public void use, and by calling this method user will be able to fly. Okay, so using flying skill. Now this character, every time you'll call the use skill method, it will be the invisibility skill. So one way is you can create one more method. You can name it use flying skill, and here inside this method create an object of fly, and then we will say fly dot use. This will work. You can use call use skill method to use invisibility and then use fly skill method. But let's say tomorrow you will have one more skill. Let's say you have a skill to use ninja hook. So you have to create one more method, and that way based on your skill you are increasing the number of methods here. More the amount of code, the more difficult it is to manage. And there are scenarios. Let's say consider there is one more functionality. After using skill, it will reduce the energy of the user. So this you have to implement in each and every method. Okay, because this is related to the skill, not what type of skill you are using. It's the ability to use skill and then type of skill you have. There are two different things. So how we can handle it in a better way? So every time if you'll see, now character is depending on these two objects. It is depending on flying skill, depending on invisibility, and we are defining those objects inside our character class, and we are creating separate methods. But as we discussed, this is not a good practice. So what we can do is, now all this flying, invisibility, these are skills. So we can define an interface. We'll name it as skill, and we'll define a method use. Okay, now this flying is also one of the skill, so we will implement skill and it has use method. Similarly, invisibility is a skill and we can use the use method to use this skill. In the character class, what we can do is we can define the reference of skill interface. Okay, we can create a constructor to inject the dependency into this character class. Now we are not creating our object in this class, somewhere else we will be creating the object and we will be injecting into this class through constructor, so that this skill can be used. How they can be used? We do not need this extra method anymore. We do not need to create our object. We just need to use the reference and we call use method. Now we can just check that. Let's say you have a gamer class, and in this class, let's say you have your main method use skill. Skill is equal to, let's say we are using invisibility skill. When you are going to define the character, you are going to use character. Character is equal to new character, and here you have to pass the skill. You have initialized the skill and you are going to pass the skill. So this way we are injecting the dependency. The character depend on one of the skill and we are injecting that through constructor into this class. That is it. That is what dependency injection is. Now if I'll say character dot use skill, and if I'll run this method, now you can see we are using invisibility. Okay, same way we can define here. Let's say you want to use the flying skill, you can just say fly, comment this out, and you run this method. Now it is using flying skill. Okay, so that is what dependency injection is. Instead of you creating the object inside your class, you let someone else create the object and inject it into your class, and you just need to use that object as per your requirement.